I'm about to share a story that still sends a chill up my spine. A few years ago, I sat across the kitchen table from Florence, an 82-year-old retired teacher who prided herself on staying sharp and active. She loved her morning walks and weekly bridge games with friends, but one day Florence began feeling dizzy spells and heart palpitations that came out of nowhere. These unsettling moments would strike her while she was carrying a pot of tea to the table or strolling down the hall. At first, she brushed them off, thinking it was just a part of getting older. However, one afternoon as she reached for a kitchen cabinet, Florence felt a rush of lightheadedness so intense that she nearly collapsed. Her son found her gripping the counter, frightened and confused, unsure of why her body was betraying her. Later that week, her doctor discovered something very telling. Florence had been taking multiple medications for years without paying attention to timing. She'd swallow her morning pills in between sips of coffee whenever she happened to remember, sometimes pushing her evening dose back an hour or two if she got too caught up chatting with a friend on the phone. It seemed harmless enough. What difference could a few hours make? But the difference was enormous. The dizzy spells were a warning sign that her body was overwhelmed by erratic medication schedules. If she didn't address this, her future could involve more serious falls, hospital visits, or even more complex health complications. If you're like most seniors, you may take multiple prescriptions to manage blood pressure, cholesterol, thyroid issues, or other conditions. Yet the way you schedule these medications can be just as critical as taking them in the first place. The stakes are high. A slip in the timing might mean you're not getting the full benefit of your medications, or worse, you could be facing dangerous side effects. These concerns become even more pressing after age 80, when our bodies are less forgiving of small missteps. In just a few moments, we'll examine 5 common medication timing errors that may be undermining your health right now. By uncovering these pitfalls and knowing how to avoid them, you can enjoy peace of mind and better daily functioning. In this video, we'll cover these 5 errors in detail. You'll discover why taking certain medications first thing in the morning might be the last thing you want to do. You'll learn about how certain foods or drinks can sabotage your medication's effectiveness if the timing is off by even an hour. You'll hear real stories of people in their 70s, 80s, and beyond who made a small adjustment and saw major improvements in energy, balance, and overall well-being. It's essential that you stay with me until the end, because the final point is the one people almost never consider. Yet it can make the biggest difference in preventing hospital visits and preserving your independence. Doctors and pharmacists have been discussing these issues for a long time, but the information often slips through the cracks because we're dealing with so many other health concerns. Today, I want to cut through the noise and give you the clear facts. Before we dive in, I invite you to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you won't miss out on any upcoming topics. If you find this information helpful, please leave a 1 in the comments. If you don't, leave a 0 and let me know how I can improve. Every bit of feedback helps me create content that keeps you informed, safe, and living your best life. Let's begin our journey by looking at the first common medication timing error. I want you to pay close attention because you may realize you've been doing something for years that's quietly putting your health at risk. The first big mistake many seniors make is taking blood pressure medication at the wrong time of day. When a doctor prescribes a medication like a beta blocker or ACE inhibitor, we often assume it's perfectly fine to take it with our other morning pills. The logic sounds simple. Group them all together so we won't forget. However, there's a widespread misconception that blood pressure medication works best first thing in the morning. In fact, depending on your personal blood pressure patterns, taking them too early might cause significant drops in pressure mid-morning, leading to lightheadedness, fatigue, or even a dangerous fainting episode. Consider 84-year-old Ronald, a former bus driver who loved nothing more than playing with his grandkids in the backyard. He noticed that around 10 a.m. each day, he'd suddenly feel so weak he needed to sit down. It didn't make sense. He was relatively active, kept a decent diet, and tried to take all his pills at 7 a.m. without fail. Finally, his cardiologist suggested adjusting his main blood pressure pill to late evening instead. The difference was astounding. Within just a week, those morning crashes disappeared, and Ronald felt steadier on his feet. The surprising insight here is that some seniors actually benefit from taking their blood pressure medication at night because it aligns better with natural circadian rhythms. If you're dealing with unusual spikes or drops in blood pressure, talk to your healthcare provider about whether adjusting the timing could help. Sometimes an evening dose can control overnight surges and ensure that you feel more balanced throughout the day. Be sure to keep a simple log. Write down your blood pressure at a consistent time each day, along with when you took your medication. After a couple of weeks, you'll see patterns you might never have noticed. This can lead to a simple scheduling change that helps you avoid scary falls or fainting spells. The emotional benefit of nailing your blood pressure medication timing is huge. You get to reclaim your mornings, enjoy a sense of stability, and reduce the constant worry that any sudden move could send your heart racing or your head spinning. Timing is everything when it comes to these prescriptions. By treating them casually, taking them whenever you happen to remember, you're essentially playing guesswork with your health. The relief of having well-regulated blood pressure can't be overstated. Picture yourself going through your day without that nagging concern that a sudden dizzy spell will strike. That peace of mind is what you stand to gain. And if the fear of an unexpected fall keeps you awake at night, remember that correcting this one mistake could be a significant step towards safer, more confident days. Now let's move on to the second major medication timing error, which involves certain foods and beverages. Many people don't realize how big a role your diet plays in how effectively or safely your meds work. But first, I'd love to know if you're still with me. If you're finding these insights valuable, please leave a 2 in the comments so I know you've heard our first 2 points. Your participation really matters and helps guide future content. One of the most overlooked issues for seniors is what you eat or drink around the time you take your medication. The biggest misconception, that it's okay to wash your pills down with whatever beverage happens to be in front of you at breakfast. Some folks use orange juice, others swear by a quick sip of coffee. But believe it or not, certain beverages can reduce or amplify your medication's potency in unpredictable ways. That morning coffee may interfere with the absorption of thyroid medication. That grapefruit juice you enjoy might intensify the effect of certain cholesterol-lowering drugs. Worse yet, you might unknowingly combine a medication that requires an empty stomach with your hearty breakfast, diluting its effectiveness. Let me introduce you to Shirley, a 79-year-old who had been faithfully taking her daily thyroid pill for years. Every morning around 8 a.m., she'd pop her pill and sip her coffee, savoring the warmth of her favorite beverage. Over time, she noticed her energy was off. She'd feel sluggish, chilly, and a bit down, classic signs that her thyroid was underactive. Her doctor kept adjusting the dose, but the lab results never improved. The problem? The timing of her medication with coffee was preventing full absorption. Once Shirley shifted to taking her thyroid medication with a glass of water at least 30 minutes before breakfast, her energy levels soared within weeks. That single adjustment allowed her body to absorb the medication properly, and she finally felt like her old self again. The surprising truth is that many medications have specific instructions for timing relative to meals. Some require an empty stomach to work well. Others may be better tolerated when taken with food to avoid stomach upset. The best practical advice is to read the labels carefully and confirm with your pharmacist or doctor if you're unsure. Don't assume that taking your pills alongside your bacon and eggs is harmless. A small shift, like waiting 30 to 60 minutes after certain pills before eating, can make all the difference in how well your body utilizes that medication. Emotionally, the impact is substantial. You'll experience relief in knowing that you're not unintentionally sabotaging your health. It can feel frustrating to trust a prescription, only to have it fail because of something as simple as the wrong beverage or meal timing. Imagine the reassurance of realizing your meds are finally doing what they're meant to do, giving you consistent relief or stability instead of lingering side effects or inadequate results. When you align medication timing with dietary habits, you're actively preventing avoidable health declines, and that's something every senior deserves. Now we arrive at the third critical medication timing error, which may surprise you because it involves supplements. Many folks assume vitamins and minerals are harmless and can be taken anytime. However, if you're still watching and ready for the next tip, Please comment 3 below and let me know you're with me. Your comments make a big difference in supporting this channel. The third error often happens when seniors mistakenly combine certain supplements with prescription medications at the exact wrong time. One common misconception is that if a supplement is natural, it's automatically safe to take alongside any drug. That's not always the case. Some supplements can block or boost the effects of medications, leading to inconsistent results or even dangerous interactions. Calcium, for instance, can interfere with the absorption of antibiotics or thyroid meds if taken too closely in time. Iron supplements can reduce the effectiveness of certain Parkinson's medications or even some blood pressure pills. The result? You might think you're doing everything right by adding healthy supplements to your routine, but in reality, you could be throwing your primary medications out of balance. Take the story of Joseph, an 85-year-old retired engineer who meticulously planned his day. He woke up at 6:30 a.m., took a handful of vitamins, and then an hour later took his prescription arthritis medication. By lunchtime, he'd pop another set of pills, which sometimes included over-the-counter pain relievers for his back. Despite his careful approach, he started noticing increased joint stiffness. He assumed the arthritis was worsening. However, a quick review with his pharmacist showed that Joseph was taking a high-dose calcium supplement too close to his arthritis medication, hindering its absorption. When Joseph learned to separate those pills by at least 2 hours, his joint flare-ups lessened significantly, and he realized the problem wasn't a worsening condition. It was just poor timing. The surprising twist here is that even the healthiest sounding supplements can be detrimental if they interfere with a critical prescription. A good rule of thumb is to consult your pharmacist about each supplement you take. You might need to stagger them by a couple of hours or take them at different times of day entirely. Doing so ensures that your medications aren't losing their potency or clashing with other substances in your system. Emotionally, this can feel empowering because you gain control over a hidden factor that might be undermining your health. There's a sense of relief in knowing that your medicines and supplements can finally work in harmony, boosting your overall well-being rather than leading you down the path of more pills, more side effects, and more confusion. Think of it like tuning an orchestra. Each instrument might sound fine on its own, but if everyone plays at the wrong time, the entire performance suffers. By aligning your supplements carefully with your prescription schedule, you create a beautiful symphony of health. Now let's move on to the fourth medication timing error, but before we do, I'd like to pause for another check-in. If you've stuck around and you're still finding value here, please comment 4 below. Also, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Your support truly helps keep this channel running. The fourth big mistake seniors make is altering their medication schedule due to inconvenience or side effects without telling a doctor. The misconception here is that if a certain pill causes mild stomach upset or makes you drowsy at a particular time of day, you can simply shift it a few hours and everything will be fine. Maybe you decide to take your diuretic in the afternoon instead of morning because it interrupts your daily errands with frequent bathroom visits. Or you postpone your evening pain medication because you're out to dinner with friends and don't want to appear old. An example is Eileen, 80, who hated how her diuretic forced her to use the bathroom repeatedly during her cherished morning baking routine. She took matters into her own hands by moving that pill to midday. For a while, it seemed to solve the inconvenience. But soon after, she noticed her ankles swelling in the evening, and her blood pressure readings started to climb again. The reason? Her diuretic schedule was carefully calibrated to manage fluid levels throughout a full 24-hour cycle. By shifting the pill to avoid morning interruptions, she undermined the medication's effectiveness, which in turn set the stage for greater issues down the road. Here's the surprising truth. Most medications are prescribed at specific times or intervals for a reason that might not be obvious on the surface. Sometimes it's about how the drug is metabolized by the liver or eliminated by the kidneys. Other times, it's tied to natural hormone fluctuations or body temperature changes. When you disrupt that rhythm, even by a few hours, you could experience a domino effect that leads to unexpected spikes in symptoms or a decline in overall health. The practical advice? Always consult your healthcare provider if you're tempted to adjust medication timing to relieve side effects or schedule conflicts. They might suggest an alternative medication that's more flexible or a different dosing schedule that won't derail your treatment plan. By making these changes under professional guidance, you avoid the risk of an ill-timed pill that leads to a gradual erosion of your well-being. Emotionally, this is about protecting your future self. Sure, it can be annoying to wake up early for a pill or to visit the bathroom more often, but imagine the fear and frustration if that small tweak ultimately causes a bigger health crisis. Prevention is always easier than dealing with complications later. Let's move on to our fifth and final medication timing error. I've saved this one for last because it's frequently overlooked, yet it can have enormous consequences. This error revolves around failing to adjust your medication schedule when your lifestyle or prescriptions change. Think about it. You might get a new prescription, change your diet, start a new exercise routine, or develop a new health issue that shifts your body's needs. If you're on autopilot with your medication timing, you could be missing a crucial chance to recalibrate and ensure everything still works smoothly. One common misconception is that once you have a set schedule, you can just keep following it forever. But our bodies evolve, especially past the age of 80. You might find yourself sleeping more or less. Perhaps you've recently started an aqua therapy class and now your afternoons are more active. Or you could have new prescriptions from a specialist that interact with your existing routine. Without periodic check-ins, you risk letting one small change disrupt the entire system. Let's look at a real-life example. Walter is 83 and until recently took his medications like clockwork. 2 pills at breakfast, 1 at lunch, and another before bed. Then his doctor added a new medication for acid reflux that required him to take it on an empty stomach, at least 30 minutes before a meal. Walter tried squeezing this pill into his existing schedule, but found that sometimes he forgot. Other times, he took it too close to dinner, and occasionally he just took it whenever he remembered. Soon, his reflux wasn't improving, and his blood pressure readings started fluctuating wildly because he was also off schedule with his old meds. The surprising twist came when a nurse practitioner reviewed Walter's daily routine and discovered that simply shifting his breakfast pills by 15 minutes and taking his reflux medication in the mid-afternoon instead of forcing it into the breakfast schedule stabilized everything again. The practical step here is straightforward. Whenever something changes in your life, new medication, new meal times, new activity levels, ask yourself or your healthcare provider, do I need to adjust my medication schedule? A 10-minute conversation with a pharmacist or a single phone call to your doctor might save you from weeks or months of confusion, side effects, or needless suffering. You'll feel a tremendous sense of relief when everything lines up properly again. There's immense comfort in knowing your treatments are working in harmony rather than colliding or causing chaos under the surface. With these 5 points in mind, I want you to imagine what your daily life could feel like if all your medications were timed to support your best health, rather than threaten it. No more random dizzy spells, no more mysterious fatigue, and fewer unwelcome side effects that catch you off guard. As we move toward wrapping up, let's pause to consider the bigger picture of medication timing and why it's critical to address it before a problem arises. Look back at Florence's story. The moment she discovered the root cause of her dizzy spells, her entire outlook changed. She realized that her well-being was within her control. She just needed the right information and a willingness to make a few scheduling tweaks. Instead of accepting daily lightheadedness as an inevitable part of aging, she embraced a simple solution that made a huge difference in her quality of life. And that's the transformation I want for you as well. It's easy to put off tasks like rethinking your medication schedule. Life is full of other responsibilities, and it's tempting to assume that as long as you take your pills consistently, everything will be fine. But the urgency here is real. Medication timing isn't a small detail. It can be the key to preserving your independence, preventing falls, avoiding hospital stays, and keeping your mind clear and focused on the joys of life rather than the anxieties of failing health. By addressing these 5 common errors now, you're giving yourself the best chance at a safer, more fulfilling future. If you're wondering how all of this specifically applies to you, take a moment and reflect on your own routine. Do you truly take certain pills at the same time each day, or do you let convenience dictate the schedule? Are you aware of which medications should be taken with food, which require an empty stomach, and which should never be combined with your morning coffee? When was the last time you updated your routine to account for a new prescription or a change in your daily activities? By answering these questions honestly, you can pinpoint exactly where you might need to make adjustments. Now consider taking just one of these points, say separating your supplements from your prescriptions by an hour or two, and imagine the ripple effect that could have. Less stomach upset, more stable energy, and possibly more effective medication overall. Or think about the relief you'd feel by shifting your blood pressure pill to the evening, if that's what your doctor advises. Suddenly, those mid-morning dizzy spells could vanish, leaving you free to enjoy a relaxing walk without fear of losing your balance. Visualize a day in which your medication schedule supports every activity you love, from gardening to playing with grandkids to socializing with friends. That sense of control and well-being is well within reach. In closing, I'd like to leave you with a few simple action steps. First, talk openly with your healthcare provider or pharmacist about each medication you take. Ask whether the timing is ideal for your age, health conditions, and lifestyle. Second, keep a small notebook or use a simple chart to track when you take each pill and how you feel afterward. Patterns often emerge that you won't notice otherwise. Finally, share what you've learned. If you have friends or family members in their 70s, 80s, or even 90s, let them know how crucial it is to get this right. You could be the reason someone avoids a painful fall or dodges a dangerous drug interaction. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Leave a comment below and share at least one insight you plan to use. If you've ever struggled with medication timing, let us know how you overcame it. Or if you haven't, maybe this is your moment to make that crucial change. If you like this video and found it helpful, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing it with someone who could benefit from this information. Your support not only helps this channel grow, but also allows more seniors to gain the knowledge they need to live safer, healthier lives. Always remember that you have more power than you think to shape your health journey. Small, smart changes can lead to big, meaningful improvements, and you are fully capable of making them. Let's keep learning, keep improving, and most importantly, keep living with the vitality and peace of mind we all deserve. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, remember, knowledge is the best defense against preventable health problems, and every step you take to master your medication schedule is a step toward a more fulfilling life.